Welcome back to Recorder on the Wall. I'm your no longer vacationing Abbott Pete.
Quick! Matthias! Hide the stuff! He escaped from the closet!
Okay, we're going to get right to this, folks, because, surprisingly, it's a long story, but personally, I may not be able to finish this episode. Jeremy may take the last quarter if I have to duck out. But if you're wondering what I thought about the first third of this book, it's good, Redwall. It's standard Redwall, but not for the first time, the second time, the third time, etc. We have a badger whose family is killed, and he wants vengeance.
Well, come on, we haven't had that many. I mean, it's only been Sunflash, Earthstripe, Earthwhite. I see
Orlando.
Well, his family wasn't killed. I mean,
no.
But yeah, I see your point. Brock Tree, actually, if you count Stonepaw in there. So yeah.
I mean, Ron Blade, not so much for vengeance, just more of a, I don't like the look of your face. Here, let me punch it in for you.
I want your ship, so I'll just kill you all.
and Krega's just like, here, hugs.
And Brocktree did that too. So I'm not saying Brian is a formula writer. I'm saying Brian is a formula writer. Okay. Don't get me wrong. This does introduce a new concept very late in this middle section that really should have been in the series a lot earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get to that in time.
We did have an exception to the rule. We did have Rusano, where his family was killed, but he wasn't seeking vengeance.
No, but you could argue he had a happy childhood from the start. So there's a lot more that could have mitigated that.
Yeah.
And and our young male badger has a semi-unique weapon, pointy thing on the end of a long wooden pole. Yes, a pitchfork that's named
Tongue.
Okay, dude. Fine, whatever.
Hey, when you're bored working hours on end on a farm, you need to do something fun.
Yeah.
I don't think creativity is necessarily your strong suit when the bulk of your day is break up rocky soil to try and encourage what small quantity of dirt there is to produce plants.
But Grandpa, I was going to go to Hashi Station and get some power converters.
Nobody likes a whiner, Gorath.
But that being said, let's get to our main plot. And we begin with the Abbey, and it's like, hey, guys, I found your badger. Hey, do we still have that open ad for a badger, Mom? I don't know.
We get the adventures of the Dibbon on the Wall, and we immediately need to reference the Abbey Defense Guide.
Mm-hmm. I literally put that in my notes. Redwall cliche number 6, Dibbon's on the Wall. And I do, in fact, make reference to the Redwall Defense Guide later on.
And of course, we have someone trolling a ship up the River Moss, and there's Martin from the afterlife. Really?
Gonf is like, we did it already. You're not original.
Martin did it.
We also get some funny little Dibbon names. Little Dimp, Flim, and Geordie. Yeah, I'm sorry. We should have called them Flim and Flam.
I'm starting to think it's not just the vermin who are getting unoriginal names anymore.
No. Well, with so many orphans, they might have gotten tired of trying to name all of them.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Oh, and hey, didn't we ban you for a season? Yeah, but I brought a badger. Oh, okay. Yeah, come on in. Is your badger friend hungry? Is your badger friend unconscious?
He's not so much hungry as he is horribly emaciated and starved. So, I mean, I guess he's hungry. Oh,
And guys, can I get some food? And yeah, I'm just gonna sleep right here under your tapestry. Yeah, who's that mouse? Okay, good night.
Also, we get like how Abbott Dacus, when they accept Gorath in, he sees Gorath with a gardening tool and immediately admonishes him for having a weapon. It's a gardening tool, dude. Calm down. I know he's a badger, and technically anything a badger is holding can be considered a weapon. Because I'm pretty sure Constance at one point was using a frying pan to kill some birds, but
I mean, how many badgers have used vermin carcasses as flailing weapons?
while having one of them in their teeth.
Yeah, Craig, you can put your hand down. Put your hand down.
Yep. Well, that's all right. We get a different type of melee weapon a little bit later in one of my favorite scenes in the book. So yeah, Orkwill comes back to Redwall with Gorath, and after a little bit of dealing with Fen Bluepaw. I think she's just ornery that she's named after Bluefen, honestly. So she just wants to talk as much as possible. But then, which this part kind of confused me a little bit, is Orkwill's like, Gorath, you stay here. Me, the outcast, will go and ask them to let us back in, because that makes sense.
Dude, just a badger. Why are they gonna... They're not gonna do anything. Hey, why did they throw this barrel bung at me? Oh, sorry, I'm trying to hit the ball.
So he eventually gets them to... Gorath walks out, and he's like, yo, let me in. And Skipper goes, let him in, let him in.
Yeah, Skipper is the main reason Redwall stays secure. Shove off, Fen. You have no place to be here. You have no right to talk.
Yep. On the only point I'll give her is at least she's taking one of the Dibbins down from the wall. So.
Eh.
And meanwhile, with bad guy group A, again, we have Vista Logtooth, who's leading his ship up the river, and he's using his own vermin to pull with ropes, and then they put the anchor when it's time to rest, so the ship doesn't flow with the current. And speaking as a man, the River Moss must be really freaking deep, because speaking as a man who just went river fishing not terribly long ago, you do realize that rivers have a lot of... They go from shallow to deep very quickly. So, but yes, and it's amazing his crew isn't going to consider mutiny, at least right now.
They're too scared of him.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to see more mutinous consideration in the future, but considering what he's asking them to do, which is literally pull a ship against current, I'm surprised it doesn't come right now.
I'm surprised they don't just march instead of, like, I'm not sure what Visca's reasoning for.
Well, he's still got 10. He still have 10 payments on the boat, man. He's not gonna. Yeah.
He's in a bad neighborhood. He doesn't want someone to steal it.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't want
the thing.
He doesn't want his ship to be rolled for its, banging sound system, and by banging sound system, I mean his bass drum.
Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, like all the way back in Mariel of Redwall, when Gray Patch and his group just left the ship by itself, the Long Patrol Hares wrecked it. And so maybe this isn't that bad of an idea. So, yeah, Visca loves torturing this water vole. And you know what? I love watching him torture this water vole, because this vole is a little schmuck.
He's a jerk.
I hate him.
I mean, we're back. We've had some good water voles covering this podcast before, but this is one of the bad ones.
Considering what happens like throughout this section of the book, I think we finally found a vole worse than Droop.
That's saying something.
Yeah. Took a while, too.
Yeah. He's just the worst. Nobody likes him.
But yes,
So-
continuing on, they pulled their ship and like, hey, we're gonna get to Redwall, right, guys? Yeah, okay, yeah, moving
Nope.
along. Oracle's
But
like,
never mind that stuff. Here comes Jungo, my favorite of the villain rats, of the villain pirates, Jungo.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually not a bad name.
I like it. He's just so dumb and funny. I just love where Visca tells him to look after the vole, and he's like, "Oh, I'll watch him like a mother duck with an egg, Captain. Ahoy, hairy mouse! You know how mother ducks watch their eggs, don't you?" "No, sir. They sits on them like this."
Apparently, Jungo is a transplant from the American Vermin, program. So,
Oh God. But so after that little interlude, we do go back to the Abbey, and Orkwill kind of gives them the rundown of, hey, then there be pirates out there. And they immediately let him, like, welcome him back in and give him a promotion to one of the guards, even though he has no aptitude for it whatsoever. So the title of this entire section of the book covers this one scene.
Mhm.
All
Yep.
right.
A thief absolved. Yes. Okay. He is now absolved.
Hey
Moving
guys, I
on.
found a badger. Does that mean I'm welcome back? Sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, and all right. Like I mean, we all knew that he was going to get let back in at some point. I just assumed it would take, more of the book, or like they'd temporarily like let him back in right now because they're not going to leave him outside while murderous sea pirates are out there.
I don't know,
But
who do you think he is, Vale?
at least he didn't try to kill anybody. I mean,
Yeah.
so
I mean, for what it's worth, it very much comes off as a oopsie doopsie. I was a terrible thief who stole your stuff, but I've saved you now, so you have to forgive me.
pretty much.
Yeah, we're still gonna put you in therapy for kleptomania.
Yeah. He kind of gets over that pretty quickly too. Like he doesn't try stealing anything else for the rest of the section of the book.
Well, the problem with kleptomaniacs, you can't use any kind of like euphemisms or creative language around them because they always take things so literally.
Dun 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 dun.
This is terrible. I approve.
We then get Dawkins going through two changes of heart where Orkwill's like, he told me he suffers from the blood wrath, and the Abbot's like, oh my god, he has blood wrath! And then when Orkwill's like, no, Martin helped him, he goes, oh cool, let's go look at him. Like,
Yeah, I mean, the Abbots kind of overreact the blood wrath here. Now, don't get me wrong. As we've said in both as a joke, more as a joke than anything else, Salmistron does have a blood wrath buddy system, but
Redwall
this
does
is
not.
not the first Badger they've played host to.
Mm-hmm.
Though, I mean, this is Redwall where they forget their history like all the time.
Yeah, point taken. So back with our villain group B, the more useless leader. So just pointing out, I mean, yes, there was book one, but well, Visca is, and I said that right?
Visca?
Visca. I'm like, yeah, he really should be looking for signs of mutiny, and does later. Gertan, you should
Grunton.
have had what?
Grunton.
Grunton. He should have had more than a few daggers in his back by now, especially since he's practically injured and being carried around on a palanquin.
You are forgetting a very important fact, though. His followers are morons.
Clearly. I mean, don't get me wrong, at one point where like and literally in chapter 14 his own rats think he's gone, like he'd fallen off a rock and he's gone, and they're like, hey, We're free now. Yay! Oh, you're not free. I'm still here, guys. Hey, guys, we could just push him off and no one will ever have to know.
Mm-hmm.
No, they don't even you don't even consider it. They're like, oh, okay, boss, here, we'll pull you up.
Yeah, this guy makes Jungo look smart.
Yep.
So yeah, we have Mahdi and the Gaussum are running away from, as I have dubbed him, they call it, his name's Grunton Curdly. I just keep calling him Curdled Milk. And I don't care.
Nickname approved.
Thank you.
Or just Curdle.
Yep. Curdle. Is he not curdly enough for the Curdle Club?
Oh God, dude, no.
Curdle.
You get one reference.
Curdle.
That's it. You've used it.
That's the only reference I remember from that movie. It's the only one anyone remembers.
Yes. Moving on.
I could not help myself on that one.
No, I appreciate, but that's the only time you're ever going to mention that on air. Welcome back, Papa Abbott Pete.
I literally don't remember anything else from that movie outside of that.
Moving on.
But anyway, so they run away. They're a lot of setting up the theme for this book, running away from the brown rats.
And if it wouldn't get
Mahdi and the Gaussum are on the run for a large portion of this book.
And ironically enough, if it wouldn't get me some sort of impossible copyright trouble, I would put the Monty Python run away here. Which is ironic in its own right because our How Anthropomorphic Are They bumper uses the Monty Python theme song, which itself is public domain.
This lesson in copyright brought to you by
the letter G and the number 30 cajillion.
Wait, what? Man, that count's gone a little overboard. Anyway.
Speaking of going overboard, the Gaussum find a waterfall.
Waterfalls. Why is it always waterfalls?
Mossflower had this many waterfalls.
Just as soon as they flew over, I just imagine it freeze framing, and it's like, looks like them Gaussum boys are in a bit of trouble now.
Yeah, I was thinking, yeah, that's me. How did I get in this position? Well, it's a long story.
By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Also a good reference. But yes. Oh, then we're back at Redwall and And Redwall is actually being smart. They're not tolling their own bells. They're increasing the lights they have on, so it's harder for vermin to find them. Good.
Yep. And I'd ask what Orko's qualifications are to be a guard, but I will be completely fair. Way back in the very first book, Matthias didn't really have any qualifications either. So
I was gonna bring that up too.
Yeah. I'm gonna let it pass. I think we should just let it pass because this is not the first time this has happened.
And before I forget, the chapter art for chapter 15. If it's not clear, that is the Vole dressed up in sea rat rags.
Oh, ain't that cute?
Aw, isn't he a cute big old target?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Visco does finally find Redwall, and he's like, well, there's possibility that the Abbey could be this right target that's an easy plundering, but I'm not going to be stupid and just rush it. Right, Moral Foxes? Okay.
Right, Clooney?
Yeah. Ow, come on.
Right, Gray Patch? No, Visca is showing some good sense in this book. He's not, and throughout the whole book actually, he's not jumping to instantly killing people, subordinates. He's not rushing into things. He's actually pretty clever.
Yep. He's like, hey, so Mr. Watervolt, that you're kind of a jerk, and we've been treating terribly, but you've kind of deserve it. We're gonna dress you up as one of us, and you're gonna walk right up to the Abbey, and if you do that for us, you're free to go. What, really? Uh-huh. Just walk up to the Abbey and say you want in because you're hungry. And your friends want food too. Okay? Right. Have fun.
Have fun, live bait. I mean, Watervole.
Why do you call me that? Oh, no reason.
I do love when after they dress him up, Jungo goes, looks pretty, don't he? Also, I must bring up a couple of the names. There's Magger, Dogleg, and Patchy.
And Bilger.
And Bilger. Yep. And Bilger actually catches on to what Vizca is doing. So, like, wow, Vizca actually has some subordinates that aren't complete idiots.
Well, I
And
mean, that's a pretty low bar, if you ask me.
It's true, but, I mean, we don't have that many villain groups where the subordinates aren't all completely worthless.
Yeah, you got a point. And so the Abbey's like, hey, that looks like a vermin. I wonder what we should do. Hey guys, can you let me in? I'm hungry and my friends and I need food.
Hey, Benjo, what's your favorite game? Whack-a-mole.
God. And yes, as mentioned, Benju, as we said, or indicated, he sends a barrel bong, aka a barrel stopper, right into his head and knocks him out. Hey guys, he's kind of twitching on the ground. Should we go get him?
Nope.
Yeah, they leave him out there for
I love
hours.
it too. Orquill's like, that wasn't a sea vermin, it's a vole. And Benjo just laughs. He goes, then why didn't he say so? Looked like a vermin, said he was a sea beast, and if I ain't mistaken, he was carrying a weapon.
Going into this chapter, I had 0 Vol sympathy, and now I still have 0 Vol sympathy.
I mean, the only cruel thing the Red Wars do here, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a mistake, and they did knock out, well, not quite a friendly, as we'll find out later.
Or
but
innocent.
They leave him right outside on the front lawn. Just kind of. I hope he's not getting brain damage from that.
What was the last book that happened to one of the villains? Was that in Mariel of Redwall with what's it? Big Fang got like smacked in the head with a rock and was just lying out in front of Redwall. And Grey Patch is like, get him out of there.
Oh, I thought you were gonna reference Ka-Chunk.
Oh yeah, there was Ka-Chunk.
And I don't even remember his real name, but I still remember that running gag.
Yep.
Ka-Chunk.
Yep. And then we get another good moment with Visca is he overhears Orquill, and by hearing that, immediately figures out that Gorath is inside the Abbey.
Oh man, they got the Badger in there. Oh, that just shoots all my plans to hell.
But still, you know what? It's nice that we finally have a competent vermin leader again after one book without one.
And
yes, that was a dig to Rigu.
Chapter 16 starts with the artwork is literally the waterfall moment. Oh, and we find out the boat that the kids were in. Oh, it's fine. No, it's totally
They're
fine.
Okay.
Yeah, they were completely uninjured. Hell, they barely got even wet.
Yep, they're okay. Yep. As a group of very friendly otters rescue them.
Hey, are the adults okay? Oh, they'll be fine.
Yep.
Before we go too much further, the chapter art also shows the logboats. For some reason, they have masts. Why are they paddling if the boats have masts?
Moreover, the logboats are literal logs. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, traditional canoes are carved out of a long tree. I know that. But it looks like someone buzzsawed just a tree trunk in half, and they're all standing on top of it.
It's log. It's big, it's heavy, it's wood.
Oh, and haven't I mentioned our current log-a-log, his name, Lug-Lug? Okay.
And we're not allowed to ask why, or else we could get big trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they get rescued by an otter tribe, which is Barbola and Cachuch. Okay.
I'm having Hyrule Lane flashbacks from the dynamic. Very Big Colin and Diderot.
This is true. But that's a good thing, because those two were great.
So yeah, of course, the otters feed our shrews, and they're taking care of them. And yeah, your kids are fine. Oh, okay.
They get the Redwall equivalent of nachos, basically.
Yeah.
The plugs and dips. This sounded delicious.
Yeah, stop running from the vermin chasing you and have a nice meal. It'll be fine. What? Vermin? Run for it!
Stage right.
Yep. The morons are coming! The morons are coming! Yeah, so...
And female vermin group B. They're still carrying their injured leader on a stretcher. And I'm just, yeah.
We find out that Curdle's healer is named Laggle.
Yep.
And
she's having way too much fun pulling spikes out of his butt.
Yep, and she don't care. Laggle does not care, and I love it. Like, she constantly, like, does verbal digs at Curdley and, like, steals his food at one point and everything, and she just does not care, and it's great.
And I love her.
Yeah, she's fun.
There is that is the one thing I could look forward to getting old, like, 70s plus, is at some point, we've all met old people like this. They just don't give a darn about how the world sees them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And they no longer have any filters.
I would love to have an entire book with just her.
Yep.
Her teaming up with Glorma from Visca's crew.
Oh, no, that is chaos personified.
Well, at least she doesn't have three worthless sons who are badger exterminators.
So we then go back to the Gaussum, and they drug the kids.
Okay, see, other parents do this.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of the Sister May special there.
Mm-hmm. I love it too, where at first Maddie's like, who would have thought a few verses of gentle singing could send this little bounders to dreamland, what? And Osbel's like, yeah, that and a few drops of Miss Frenna's shut-eye potion.
Now, as I mentioned on air, my parents did this to me as a child. So, yeah. I mean, it's not like they were harmed us in any meaningful way. I'm sure there were no effects side. No?
All right, so...
Bad joke?
I mean, I get it, but it's not a joke I want to make about.
Okay, I'm not saying, but in this, tactically speaking, in this sort of thing, yes, you don't want the little ones giving away your position if vermin are chasing you.
And we learned that lesson in about 2 chapters.
Yes.
I like it too. So, like, Grunton takes over, like, the little Otterholt, eats some of the cold plug-in dips, and it's like, leave some of them alive so I can figure out how they made this. Yum, yum, blah, blah, blah,
I mean, we've
blah.
all been there. Like, you go to the ballpark, and the snack stands don't have warm cheese sauce, and it comes out cold and, like, a solid mass. So, yeah, I don't blame him. Yeah, this is not as good as it could be.
Yeah. Curdle's the kind of guy that if you, like, was sharing nachos with him, he'd be the one that if he accidentally picks up, like, half the bowl in one shot, that he'd count as one nacho.
Yeah.
And more fleeing from him, and yeah, I do.
Oh, but not before Curdles dumps the entire cold nachos over one of his own rat's head.
Yep.
and we also get the minion awkward laugh where, hey, the big boss is laughing at a cruel joke he played on one of us. Do we have to laugh with him? Yeah. Okay. What? Okay. Now he's telling us we shouldn't be laughing. Okay.
Yeah, we did get that in book 1 with Visca, where Kaj made a terrible pun and nobody said anything, and then Visca made a worse pun and everyone started, like, laughing along with him, even though they didn't get it. Mm-hmm. Where it specifically said those, like Jungo, didn't know it.
And chapter 17 literally begins with Curdles on his palanquin, and again, guys, you could have let him fall. Just saying. Okay.
It's like the villain version of Hedonism Bot from Futurama.
I apologize for nothing.
And so, yeah, they decide to do a little trick instead, and to try to throw off. I how they can't get away from the moron patrol like easily is very surprising, but okay.
Especially this is Gossam and a Mossflower Holt of otters who would know the local territory a lot better than these guys.
Yeah. And also, I feel like Curdley and his group are dumb enough that you could just say, hey, look, we went that way, and point in the opposite direction, and they'd believe you.
Look, there I am!
Oh. So Barbola brings up, like, okay, we're going to go off in this side spot, and then we're going to drop this log down to make it look like the river is unpassable, and then we're going to hide out. Which...
Hey, look, guys. This is, Hey, didn't Abba's song hide in this inlet? Oh, no, that's another book.
History lessons, what's that?
Because it's not like this inlet is full of insects, stinging insects. Oh, wait, it is. And it's not like the bad guys will go right by it. Oh, wait, they do. Yeah.
Yeah, so we then get a moment as they're hiding out. One Shrew accident clacks his paddle because he's trying to swat at a bug. And Lug's like, I'm gonna smack you against the boat if you do that again.
And the Shrew's just like, oh, she's swiping at a wasp.
It's like, use your paw, not your paddle, you dummy. Like, I'm sorry, I can't fault Lug for reading this guy the riot act, because your lives, including those of countless children, depend on absolute silence.
Unfortunately, one of said children, a otter kid, breaks the silence because a wasp stings her right on the nose. Ow.
Ouch. Yep. And though right before that we have Nago, who is one of the trackers, and he's the one that's like, I think they went that way. And Curdley's like, fine, you go down there and figure it out, and try and find him. And Nago's like, this is what I get for speaking up. I just gotta shut up. Nope, it's like they said, just zip it up and fly straight.
Oh, hi, hair lady. Ow.
And
Nago was a little too clever for his own good. If only he had used his Nago in... okay,
see,
no.
I put Madi hit Nago right in the noggin.
I do love his self-rant to himself, like, what'd I get for trying to be helpful? I'll keep my trap shut. Now, and I ain't no officer.
Actually, it's Ossifer.
Yeah, I
know. But,
And then the Gossam and the Otters are like, exit, stage right.
Zoom! And so, yeah, they're running away again. And I do love Laggle's just where Curdley's like, where's the rest of my horde? And Laggle's like, half your army are still on the other side of the mainstream, probably waiting for a drought, so it'll dry up and they can walk across. Laggle does not care.
Oh, what? You gotta kill an old woman? Come on.
I'm the only one that knows how to make your ouchies not ouch anymore. You dare kill me, your life will be pain.
Me in about one chapter.
And no one messes with the white mage. Yeah.
Healer's down, out of mana.
So yeah. And then we finally get in the best tradition of squirrels thinking they are Batman.
Rangval the Rogue.
Hey, wait a minute. I've heard that name before. Weren't you rated to a Danflor? No.
No. I'm assuming that Rangval actually is a student of history and is a huge Roosevelt, Reguba, and Ranguvar Foeseeker fanboy, and has decided to merge their names into one.
And as we said it must be canon.
Yes. And this is just... I love Rangval as far as roguish characters go, because I know Brian really liked his rogues.
Mm-hmm.
I think Rangval is what Euphis Lightpaw should have been.
I will agree to this.
I am the forest.
And we get the return of my favorite thing, the Han. just love how they keep putting the Han in parentheses. I don't know why. I just really love that.
But and Ranglo's big plan to save everybody. Hey, do those look like 4 wasp nests to you?
Ouch mansions.
Yep.
Yeah, Ouch Mansions. I remembered Ouch Mansions. I don't ever want to go there.
And before we get there, though, Chapter 18 literally begins with Gorath on a bed, clutching his precious pitchfork while he's sleeping.
Gorath is a big boy. A big
I'm glad they have
boy.
a bed big enough for him, apparently. But that could have been Kragas for all we know.
I was just about to say they probably took Kragas from out of storage.
Or, maybe it's an air mattress. And I'm imagining Abbey Dwellers having to pump that up.
Oh, God. I was taking a sip when you... Oh, God. I almost choked. So we also see that Abbot Dacus is a bit more like hands-on with the Abbey defense than we've had with previous abbots or abbesses, where he's like, he supervises the kitchens and then also starts saying like, oh, I'm going to take breakfast up to our defenders and I'm going to help organize like a rotation so people aren't just sitting up there the whole time. Like, wow, you're actually doing something instead of saying, I don't know the ways of war. You all figure it out. Like,
yeah, competence.
Yeah. Or it's like, I mean, I do appreciate that our previous abbots and abbesses who don't know anything about this stuff have admitted to their ignorance and been like, I'm going to leave it to you guys. But also, it's nice that we finally have one that's taking part in it. I think that's really cool.
It's like, I might not know much, but I can do this much.
Mm-hmm. And we see that, like, he has good authority over everyone. Like, when Dacus speaks up and, like, tells people to, like, calm down or be silent or orders people around, they listen to him. Like, he has very good authority over everyone. I really like him.
Much less, there's going to be a period shortly here where a character is all about the vengeance that isn't the Avenger. Mm-hmm. And even Dacus is just like, hey, cut that out.
We then see that like Orkwill is so much happier to be back inside Redwall. Like, he wasn't out for very long, but I think let's face it, he went through a lot in like the 3 days that he was outside of the Abbey.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it helped him appreciate it a lot more. Though again, I do have to point out him going from little thief to dedicated defender is a bit rushed.
Yeah,
it is.
Though the old expression does ring true, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Yeah, nearly drowning in a swamp, that'll make you really appreciate what you have.
Mm-hmm. I promise I won't steal the cat, just let me in. I could hear the sonic drowning music.
Oh, God. Yep. And so, but I do like Orkwill's friendship with Gorath, and he really does care about him. But then we go back to Visca's group, and we have a good moment where Visca is giving orders, and a random person in the group just says like, but Captain, you said there's plenty of victuals in that abbey. Like, someone actually speaks out of turn. And we've seen this happen in previous books, like back in Mossflower with Sarmina, where she'd be pissed off because like one random henchman was mouthing off to her. Mm-hmm. And she'd be like, I'm going to find you. I'm going to find out who said that, like freaking out and everything. Whereas in this one, Visca at first is about to do that and then calms for a second and realizes, okay, my crew is starting to turn a little bit. Instead, I will placate them and get them back on my side.
Mm-hmm.
So I am impressed with this.
Oh, and they finally bring the Vol into the Abbey. Map.
Yeah. Literally after Visca is like, okay, half of you go find food, and the rest of you just like scout about here. And when he is finished splitting the party, never split the party.
Hey, gang, let's search for clues.
Yes, Jinkies.
He sees the Redwallers open the doors. He's like,
He's left by his lonesome self. He sees the moles come out, grab the mole, and take him back inside. He's like, I just missed it. No.
Moreover, Redwallers, why did you keep the door open that long?
I would have left the mole just lie out there.
No, I'm saying they could have opened the door, sent out the mole team, closed it behind them, let them put them on the stretcher, reopen it, minimize your risk.
They're not that good.
No, and then Visca sees because they're in the ditch outside the Abbey, sees a insect who's digging in the dirt in the ditch outside the Abbey, and he's like, I can dig into the Abbey, and there's Clooney in the afterlife. Zygar, go make popcorn. This is going to be good.
my exact notes. Oh, Visca, if only you knew what happened to the last vermin group that tried to dig their way in. On an unrelated note, do you like porridge?
I've been defeated by porridge. That's my rule for this. Cheese thief. Cheese thief.
That is not Clooney. You are too high-pitched.
Sorry.
That was animated Clooney.
Point.
So, chapter 19.
And there's real Clooney like, oh, come on, man. Show some
Chapter 19, we get one of my favorite sequences so far, where this just made me think of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 with Rocket in the woods and the Ravagers, and he's just setting off traps. Mm-hmm. And I literally started playing Southern Nights to go along with the sequence. Oh my god, this was so funny. So Rainfall has all these traps set up throughout the woods, and the brown rats just keep running into every single one.
It's a trap!
I mean, it's probably that's more appropriate than like Home Alone at this point. So
Rainfall pops down. You guys had enough? Or are you thirsty for more? And then they run into Ouch Mansions. I get it.
Not one, not two, not three, 4 separate insect hives.
Mm-hmm. And it's wonderful. Bye, Curdle. You and your band won't be missed by the wasps or the hornets.
Why does this feel like it's happened before? Vermin getting attacked by angry insects and nursing their wounds later with mud and leaves. Something about an old treetop oak tree and then an axe.
Much less, in the original book, didn't the Abbey Dwarves put a hive inside a barrel and kick the barrel over the edge?
Oh,
yep.
Yes. Didn't they dump...
What was that about formula writing earlier?
It's fine.
Yeah.
This is fun, though. Like, I'm fine with little things like this because they're fun. I will say, on the other hand, I am getting a little tired of the moron gangs. Mm-hmm. This is like the 3rd book in a row now that we've had them.
I will say, yeah, there are some formulaic elements that it's like no matter how many times they come up, they are enjoyable to see. I think when people complain about the formula, it's like, can't you come up with anything new for like the mainline plot stuff? Like Pete mentioned, the whole vengeance-seeking badger thing. It's like, maybe try a vengeance-seeking mole or something.
Yeah, well, we saw with Arula how that could go. I am still not convinced she was making up being crazy.
I don't want to know what she was going to do with those maggoty apples. I have nightmares.
And also, you know what? We should all, let's face it, the food is also a constantly reused thing, but that's something we absolutely love.
Absolutely.
As long as we're not reading it when we're hungry, we enjoy it.
Indeed.
For what it's worth, are you hungry now, Jeremy?
Why?
Because there are a couple of moments with really good-sounding food coming up, and it's just like, I don't want you ducking out halfway through to go get a snack. I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but there's always a first time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna be waiting. I'm gonna be making my dinner after this, or reheating something. I had made chicken tortilla soup last week, and I still have some left. So
I did that. I did that some months ago with buffalo sauce for buffalo chicken tortilla soup.
Yeah, this time also I didn't pour in an entire can of chipotle peppers, so it's not destroying me.
Yes.
But yeah, so I'm really enjoying this plot line. The plot line itself of constantly running away, but I do like the characters in this group. Like I really like Madi, I really like Rankval, I really like Lug. So I do like this, and
It does feel a lot like one of the old chase scenes from a Hanna-Barbera cartoon of some sort, like either like the Flintstones or Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. But moving along here.
Yep.
The people, our shrews and otters find a cave. They were escorted to a cave by Rankball, and he's like, "Hey, neat, check out my house. This isn't your house. You didn't make it. You're right. The river did, someone else did, but there's a for sale sign. What do you want from me?"
I do like the comment. For some reason, the river changed course, and I'm like, I wonder why.
It's probably nothing to do with a ship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I do like the play that we get this throughout now. The playful banter between Madi and Rangval is awesome.
But yeah, CP Rangval's big plan is like, so we're a day's march from Redwall. We're gonna hide your boats here in my cave, and then we're just gonna walk to Redwall. It'll be easy. Oh, okay.
I do like Madi's like, oh, so you're coming with us? And he goes, have you ever eaten the food there? Yes, I'm coming with you.
Yeah, I wrote down that exact quote in my notes. I take it you have never tasted Redwall victuals, or you wouldn't be asking such a foolish old question.
So, in other words, duh.
Yeah.
Chapter 20's art begins with a very adorable, although we'll see it's less adorable later, picture of Monty with a shrew babe on her shoulders.
Yep. Also, I do love how Rangval says sure, spelled S-H-U-R-E.
Sure.
Sure.
And back with our Curdle's horde, we have their white mage like, oh my, you can imagine she's just face palming like, oh my god.
Everyone's and then she even tells we have this whole long sequence of Curdle unable to speak, and I do love Stringle's like, do you think he got the wasp down his ears and stung him in his brains? And Laggle's like, oh, your tongue got stung 1,000 times. And then Laggle starts translating for him too.
What? Yep. You're going to give me a raise?
Yep. I do love this too, where they're like, Naga's like, what did he say? And Bicklow, one of the other henchmen's like, I don't know, but he'll bring bad luck on us all. And Naga's like, bring bad luck? Does that mean we've been having good luck so far?
I mean, fair enough. Logic is pretty sound, if you ask me.
Yeah. Oh my god. So yeah, Curdle's like, all right, I'll heal up. We'll go find them.
What?
And then I'll heal up. I'll find them.
You're gonna give us a raise?
No.
But yeah, it's fun.
Yep. And
Gee, I wonder if our vermin groups will meet and they will ally against their common enemy in Redwall.
Oh, I'm sure they'll get along perfectly.
Okay, yes, I know what happened because I read this and I know why Matthias is laughing, but I had to say that.
They'll become the best of friends.
Oh, ever so charming companions. They shall put aside the differences and work together for the good of their
if we're following Redwall standards, that means that our two vermin bad guys will totally agree to ally on the surface. One kills the other, and then the other takes over. And then the survivor takes over the other guy's horde.
What are you talking about? That never happens. I mean, it
Yeah,
only or wait, no. But it only happened in Mossflower, in Triss, in
Marl
definitely not a
Fox.
pattern of
Marl
behavior.
Fox.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I do like how there's a little comment of Mahdi kind of like getting everyone into shape, like everyone going, and it says, Major Mulleen would be proud of Mahdi. And I was like, that's a nice reminder that, yes, he's still a character in the book. And now I'm wondering if we're actually returning to Salamandastron at any point.
I mean, why would a book about a badger wants vengeance be at Salamandastron?
You're right. That never happens. Except for Ron Blade and Craig.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
I know the answer, but I'm not going to spoil it.
I know. Just remember, folks, Pete and I have not read this book before. This is our first time reading this one.
Anyway. So yes, our groups do basically move towards Redwall, but of course, vermin, they're gonna find them. But also
Vermin
we
gonna
get
vermin.
we get a shrew orphan, Yick, who is adorable until he decides to bite someone.
He bites everybody. He just bites.
Yick is annoying like Dumble was, but it's far more understandable due to him being an orphan. And I mean, come on, orphans in this series? Never.
No. I wonder how many of those other Otter and Shrew babes or orphans are actual or have parents. But yeah, so
Does it really matter? Because
no one has parents in this series.
Yeah.
The only one that we've seen that's like baby shrew parent pairing was baby Dupper, aka baby Osseo.
Oh yeah, this is true. Yeah, so Yick's a little terror, and we get a tail scalping reference. Craiga would be proud.
Actually, Craig would be in Gora's face. Young Craig would be in Gora's face, like, "What? Get up! Get up! You have a vermin to kill. Go on, go on."
You know what you're supposed to be doing now, young Badger. Get to it.
So yes.
Stop lying there as if you're dying. You're not dying. You're only partially dead. Now get back up and at them.
I'm a fever dream.
We'll have a fever dream in front of the vermin horde.
Mommy, is that you?
Yes. No, it's your older sister.
Oh no.
And Derek Gorth wakes up. I had a nightmare.
So, yeah, Yick runs off and runs into some trouble, which the fact that the brown rats do have a hard time actually capturing him. They're so stupid. But then I do like this though, where they finally do grab him, and I love the way this is worded. Then Mahdi and Lug Lug arrived on the scene. They beat the heck out of these guys. They're outnumbered 3-1 and still get on the winning side. Logalog and Mahdi are just like start kicking butt and then immediately know when to run because it's, we're outnumbered and more of them are coming. And good on them. They're both awesome.
Again, exit stage right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Mahdi completely punches out a random grass snake.
Yeah.
Just out of nowhere. Just one hit. Shoryuken!
Before that, I do love how one of them refers to as a punchin' rabbit.
Yep. And for what it's worth, I think that if Baby Yick hadn't been there, if this had just been good creatures going along through the woods, stumbling across brown rats, either Logalog or Mahdi by themselves probably could have taken that entire band. And the only reason they were held back is because they don't want the kid to get hurt.
This is true.
So, yes.
Yeah,
Then,
she does.
And then there's a one hit. and a grass snake. And they keep the grass snake with them, even if he's completely out like a light.
Oh, we'll see what happens with this grass snake, and it's gonna be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I love what's about to happen with this.
But yeah, he's gonna have to complain to Reptile HR about that.
So chapter 21 is we get Fen, you know what? You've redeemed yourself because you've insulted the bull. I love this. Because they dump the bull into the gatehouse on a bed, and Fen just goes, I take it you'll be removing that thing from my bed as soon as it comes to. Filthy paws and matted fur. I'll have to scrub the counterpane and drape it in the orchard so a good clean breeze can dry it. And then Dawkins just kind of leans over. That's what I like about you, Miss Bluepaw. You're so kind and tender-hearted. That was so good. Everyone hates this bull. Good.
But at the same time, I don't blame her for being cranky about this one.
This is
No.
true.
We're gonna find out this bull though is not exactly great, but
Find out.
okay, even more so.
He's going to reveal himself to be the black-hearted fiend we all know that he could be on the inside.
Okay, yeah. Spoilers, guys. Yeah. This bull, by the time this book is over, he steals a major thing from Redwall, and of course, the werewolves are gonna have to hunt him down because
So they do wake him up, and
he's a jerk when he wakes up.
oh yeah, I do like this though, where he calls Benjo a spike pig. So Skipper grabs him very angrily and says, if you call Mr. Benjo Tips a spike pig again, I'll put another lump atop the one you've already got. Now watch your mouth. Like, go Skipper.
Yeah, you would expect any good creature to be grateful for being rescued from the clutches of vermin that don't value life, but no, sir, not this bull. Ow, you hurt me. I hate you now. Seriously, get over yourself, dude.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Why do I have a lump on my head in the first place? Oh, no reason.
Well, we then get a good moment where so they take the bull up on the wall and they're like, where are they camped out or wherever? And they take him around. All of a sudden they hear someone knocking on the door. Like someone shout, ahoy the Abbey. The bull panics and goes like, oh my god, they're he falls off the wall.
You okay?
Bull fell off the wall.
Yeah, sympathy for the vole, -12 at this point.
Oh my god, I was dying laughing.
I'm sure he's fine. He's twitching again.
That means he's still alive.
You know, the perfect word to describe this vole, curmudgeon.
Mm-hmm.
I at one point I just started calling him Dirtbag.
That's another good one.
Yeah. Oh my god. So this is awesome. So yeah, it's Barbola and his crew and all the Gaussum. And I learned another new word. This is 2 for 2 now in this book. Where it says a gang of shrew and otter babes thundered by him, all agog to see what Redwall Abbey was like. So I was like, agog? Looked it up. Very eager or curious to hear or see something.
I'm surprised you didn't know that one.
I've never heard that word before. So then they say that, Lug Lug and Maudie are still out there trying to rescue a wayward shrew babe. And I really like Osbill during this part where the abbot's like, everyone, you can come inside for dinner. And he's like, no, I'm going to take my combat-ready shrews, and we're going to stay on guard to make sure we keep this place safe and to keep an eye out for our Log-a-Log.
Mm-hmm.
So, very nice. Like, that's cool. And we also get a moment where Abbot Dawkins uses a sling. Like, we've never seen an abbot or abbess that's like ready to fight with a real weapon before. Like post promotion, obviously Song and Arvin fought with their respective weapons, or at least we heard of Arvin fighting with his respective weapon before he became abbot.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, the ongoing joke of Arvin did nothing in Long Patrol will continue.
Except forming a fast food chain. Okay, no one remembers that one. Moving on.
Yeah, I'm keeping that full couple of seconds of silence when I edit this. So,
Arvin's awkward silence.
So moving on. Yes, of course, Log and Monty are still trying to run, and
You're skipping over something with Visca and his crew.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Visca's in a good mood, and so something has to give to change that.
So Visca gets back to his crew and finds out that Magger, the second in command, even though it looked like Bilger was the smarter one earlier, either way, has like set up camp and everything, and Glorma is being totally clean and everything, making food. I'm sure she hasn't spit in most of it. He's like, oh, you guys have done a good job here. Then he starts noticing, like, oh, Magger's getting a little too big for his britches. He called me Visca instead of Captain. Everyone seems to like him. I should do something about this very soon. And this is a nice change up from the last book where Rigu's like, I'm sure it'll sort itself out.
Mm-hmm.
So I like this little bit with Visca where, again, instead of him instantly trying to do something or turning against, someone who might become a traitor, he's like, okay, I'm going to approach this tactfully. So I like that. I like Visca a lot.
Yeah.
He's a very good villain.
Also, he's voiced in the audiobook by Paul Braithwaite, who did the voice of Reki Tam, so...
Nice.
Because KD can't be here, it's up to me to talk up all the good moments from the audiobook.
Which we do have one in chapter 22. You sent me the link to the song.
Yep.
So
when we
now,
get there.
Huh?
When we get there.
Yep. So now, chapter 22, we still have Maudie and Lug and Yik hiding from the brown rats. So I love this. Maudie's like, I know, we'll create a diversion and then run. And Lug's like, what kind of diversion? And she just looks at the snake and goes, I have an idea.
And the snake's probably like, oh, what is the heck is going on? Where am I?
Maudie grabs the snake, starts spinning it around, and using it as a melee weapon. She starts beating brown rats with the snake.
Oh, that poor... I have to feel sorry for the snake.
This is awesome. She then spins it around and throws it into Curly's face. Oh, God, this was fantastic. I was, while screaming her war cry, of course. And I love it too because they don't know how many, and they're like, how many of them was there? Around 6, 7 counting the snake. We then get like a little moment that gets paid off very shortly where Lug keeps insisting on carrying Yik. Like Maudie keeps offering because, here's naturally better runners than Shrews, and she wants him to save his energy, but he keeps insisting, like, no, I will carry Yik. As they're running, they do get attacked by archers. Maudie turns around, rushes the 2 archers, knocks one out with a punch, grabs his bow and arrow as he's going down, turns, and then shoots the other one in the throat.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert, Maudie's awesome.
I mean, this is basically like Lego's level of stabbing one orc with an arrow and using the same arrow to shoot another orc.
Yep.
However, then she gets back to Lug Lug, who finally does pass Yik over, and she realizes that he's taken an arrow in the back. And,
It's probably fine.
and he also gives her his rapier and says to give it to Osbill. And Maudie runs and starts shouting her war cries again, so the Redwall defenders start kicking butt.
And they open the door just long enough for her to get in.
Yep. And it's the side door too. Like the side doors stay locked. It's a miracle.
What?
And they get in, and the shrews are like, "Hey, where's Log-a-Log? Oh, that's his sword."
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a definite line between duty and honor, and there's also a line for doing the smart thing, and I can't help but feel that Lug-Lug gave his life for no reason other than, I do this because this is what me's supposed to do. It doesn't make sense to me.
I kind of liked it where because they explain, but she says like I kept trying to say like, oh, I'll carry him, and one of the other Gaussum says like, well, as Log-a-Log, he's responsible for every single Gaussum no matter what, and so that's why he insisted on carrying Yek. And then as Maudie passes Lug-Lug's rapier to now Log-a-Log Osbill, we get the reveal that he's Lug-Lug's eldest son.
Okay, and there's one bit of continuity I have to point out here. Gotham in the past, when we have a torch passing from one Log-a-Log to another, well, sure, it can pass from father to son. It doesn't have to. But
then again,
here,
we have had other tribes in the past that they aren't just like we're all the same Gaussum, we all follow the same rules. It's more like we all follow the same structure of rules, but each individual tribe has their own idiosyncrasies that it's like, okay, this one does things this way, this other one does things this way. This one seems to be I can speak, entirely patrilineal. This one over here does things democratically.
Yeah, because we've also had it, because like in this one and in a previous book, we've had like Log-a-Log, Lug-Lug, and Log-a-Log X, but then we've also had books where they say forget your name, now you're just Log-a-Log. So yeah, it does seem like different. And back in Salamandastron, we even had the two separate Gaussum crews. But then we get the Blade Chant, which is amazing.
Yep. And it's basically, hey, we're gonna whip ourselves up into a blood frenzy for vengeance, and doesn't matter that we're outnumbered 10-1. You want to open the door for us to go let us out? Okay, yeah. And this is where where our abbot's like, no, cut it out.
And
okay, he's a lot more outspoken than that, but
he's very good here, where like he sees a volatile situation and tries to take put his authority over Osbill, even though he's the brand new Log-a-Log. And Maudie doing very different, which fits in with how we saw one of the reasons why she was going to be kicked out of Salamandastron in book 1. I'm sorry, Osbill just passed out for no reason. That was weird. I don't know how
did
that
happened. Yeah.
And we found out, so Maudie knocks him out, like.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Was it a knockout, or maybe he just had too much to drink? I hear punch will do that to you. Ding.
We also get another name, Blinky Swiffleton. I saw that. I just thought Ren and Stimpy, Stinky Weasel Teats. Oh God! And we then get some more banter between Maudie and Rankval, and this chapter was awesome. Just everything. We get dramatic moments, we get action, we get good character moments, we get the Blade chant, which Matthias sent me a link to the actual song, and wow.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing because Osbill is voiced, and then he's the singing voice done by Mark Jakes, Brian Jakes' son. And Mark Jakes proves he can sing. Not that I doubted that he could sing, but he made a really good showing of it. Like, you totally buy into this. I am out for vengeance. I am about 2 seconds away from jumping off the top of this wall to come running, screaming towards you in a berserk rage to separate your various body parts from your torso.
Mm-hmm.
It also helps that the music is super, like, I can't even put it into words. There's bass. There's a really great drum beat. It's good.
It has this, like, it feels like a full-on like battle chant rather than like the typical Redwall song.
Mm-hmm.
It is really, really good.
Is it like the Gulo song we listened to back a couple of books ago?
Better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's one thing I gotta say for this book. I am enjoying the songs in this book.
Yeah, I think the quality of these songs, the ones from Racky Tam, I really liked because some of them were just super fun. A lot of the songs here, it's not that there's a quote unquote fun quotient to them. It's that they feel more connected to the world and to the scene that they're being written into. It just integrates in better. So even though I like the songs themselves individually from Racky Tam better, these fit in better with the narrative.
Yeah, they don't feel like they're just songs put in to be like just to be there. It actually feels like part of the story, and it feels like a natural thing. And I definitely like that, which is probably one of the reasons why I'm in. Well, granted, just some of the songs are good, and there's a song in chapter 23 I really like for one specific line. But yeah, because this doesn't feel like with. I'm trying to think, like, I think Loam Hedge was one I had like a problem with, where some of the songs was just like they're just singing for the sake of filling some time. So yeah, and we get.
I admit the song density in this section is a lot less than a couple of the last few books.
Yeah, it feels like they're a bit more spread out. Like, which I can't remember which book it was. Might have been Loam Hedge, where we had like 3 songs in one chapter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But like, I did like the book 3 song. Like, as much as many problems as I had with Hyrule Lane, I did like a lot of the book 3 songs because a lot of them were like the long patrol chants and marching songs, and those have been consistently great throughout the stories.
Mm-hmm. We also had the, at least in the audiobook, the Otter Clan war song that Letho joins in where he's like, he hears it in the distance as he's singing it to himself. The audiobook version of that is really good as well.
Ooh. So chapter 23, they start eating because, I mean, there's always time for Redwall dinner. And we get a great line from Barbola and Catuch where Skipper was like, oh, who would allow any vermin in here to get our food? And Catuch just goes, I'd let them in, but not to eat the victuals. I'd use their heads and tails to scrub the pots out with. Which I believe that's called the Glurma Special.
Ew.
And as they're eating, we get a little otter song, which I love this line. No strawberry, you see, ever grew on a tree.
More Strawberry Tree references.
Yay! And I love how So Orkwill and Maudie start talking, and Maudie's like, I've been sent to find a badger, and, Lord Ashai sent me probably because, I'm the best at deciphering riddles and finding people. And I was like, yeah, that's why.
Yeah, not because you are cast out or anything. Definitely not for that reason.
Yep. We then get a great line where after she explains her story, she's like, but hopefully I can find this badger. And then Orkwill just goes, the badger's name is Gorath. He's up in Sister Atrada's sickbay resting. It was me who brought him to Redwall.
Oh, thanks. Well, you saved me a lot of time.
And I love her response. Gorbadge Insik Ratata Bestray, and you brought him to Brotwall? That was so good.
Yeah, it's like our three storylines they finally converge together, and it happens in such a humorous fashion. I love it.
Oh, so Orkwill takes her to meet Gorath, and we get a good scene here, and I'm noticing another little pattern. The Infirmary sisters are tough and no nonsense, while the Infirmary brothers have been nothing but like peaceful and kind.
No.
Or am I wrong?
There's what's his name from Hyrule Lane, who is an absolute jerk that wouldn't let Tyria and crew in to question the birds.
Oh, right. Though he did kind of redeem himself by reminding the abbot that there was a killer bird in the area. But
and then there was,
you're right.
And there was, what was his name?
So I was going to say the Infirmary brother in Salamandastron was really nice.
There was him. There was one who was particularly nasty. We just covered him a couple of books ago. Well, I remember his name. It starts with a D. Was it like Brother Dormal? Something like that.
Dormal does sound familiar.
To the wiki!
But we then also get a little bit of... So after Gorath wakes up but also has a fever and passes out, we get a good little bit of world building, which I wonder if this is like part of a legend that was started about Cuthbert, because that Maudie brings up a old hare in the veterans barracks that it's got a big rock broken over his head in the Vermin Wars, which begun the Vermin Wars have. She said like he was like a little bit off afterwards, would sing songs that people didn't understand. And I'm like, I wonder if that was like a legend that started about Cuthbert. Obviously, he didn't take a rock to the head, but still, just like he was a little bit off as well.
Well, I'm looking at the Redwall Wiki page for the Infirmary, and the last brother that we had was Brother Parant in Hyrule Lane. So I can't remember who it was I was thinking of. I'm going to keep digging. Keep going.
Okay. Chapter 24, we get a great Jungo moment.
Jungo like candy.
Jungo only pawn in game of life. We get a great moment. I love it too. It says, Jungo, the least intelligent of all the Blood Gullets crew. And he goes, me spear keeps bouncing back when I tries to dig with it, Captain. And he goes, that's because there's a root in the way. Like, I can't see them. They can't see me. That's because you're facing the rock. Oh, God. So, we found out, so we've got the Curdleys. And Curdley's like, here, a couple of you go search around, see what's around Redwall, because I want to break in there. That's going to be my place now. And Curdley's group finds two of Visca's crew, and they have a fight, and Curdley's crew wins. And Visca doesn't take kindly to that. He's like, no, we're going to go beat them up then. And so they charge off. and immediately retreat.
Run away! Run away!
And the Red Wallers are just watching it. Like,
Hey guys, can we make some popcorn?
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Just, somebody's like, somebody start playing yakety sax.
I put that in my notes. And
Yeah, I
yakety
do
sax.
too.
It's low-hanging fruit at this point.
Yeah.
And I mean, the posturing between the two gangs is hilarious, mostly because they're like, well, I'm a member of Visca Longtooth's crew. Well, I'm a member of Grunting Curdley's crew. And it's like, neither of these groups has heard of the other. So it just comes off as like empty boasting. It's so good.
We get a great mispronunciation of Visca's name in a little bit, too.
My favorite bit, though, is so it's two brown rat wives.
Mm-hmm.
Wives. They're big, but that makes it is really just funny. And they're up against two of Visca's crew. One of them, Gurna, and one of the rat wives is like, "Here, give me your dagger." And Gurna says, and I'll try to do it from the audiobook. It's so funny.
Oh, yeah.
No, I won't. This is my knife. Again, this is Paul Braithwaite doing the voice. It's like, Paul Braithwaite does Visca Longtooth. He sounds fantastic. He did Rackety Tam. Also fantastic. And then he does, no, I won't. This is my knife. And it's just the funniest thing. It sounds so stupid. Oh, man.
I love this part.
And I mean, just short story time. I'm pretty sure when I got this book originally, I ripped it to my computer so I could listen to it on my MP3 player. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure I took that exact voice clip and used it as my Windows error sound. So whenever it threw up an error, it's just, no, I won't.
Paperclip pops up. It looks like someone's trying to take your knife. Would you like some help with that?
No.
Looks like you're trying to invade Redwall. Just stop.
Just stop.
It looks like you're trying to dig a tunnel into the Abbey. Would you like some help with that?
I had a variation of the Windows helper. Somebody made this forever ago. I don't think it still works, but it was a red versus blue version where it was Sarge instead of Clippy.
God.
When you activate it, it goes, "What would you like help with today, dirtbag?" Oh God! So
get up here.
Oh boy! So we then get a good moment because Osbill's awake and he's not too happy. And both Osbill and Maudie start talking. And Maudie's like, "Well, I did it to help you. I knocked your stupid face out because you were being stupid." And he's like, "No, you made me look weak in front of the Gaussum, and I literally just got the title of Log-a-Log." And the two of them kind of realize they both made mistakes here, where Osbill is angry and expects, Maudie to fight him, and she apologizes instead, and saying she didn't realize what it really meant, to his crew and everything. And that shows a little bit of character growth for her, because obviously back in Salamandastron, what did she get kicked out for? Punching people. And I like that, she realized, and she even says, I apologize. I did it with every good intention. And Osbill is so taken aback that he pauses as well. And Daucus joins in, and instead of reprimanding anybody, says I think that was pretty big of her. I think you should accept it and move on. And the two of them get a resolution. They remain friends, and if anything, maybe stronger allies, because they both agree. Maudie even says, I will do everything in my power to help you take that bugger out. So I really like this.
On the other hand, I don't really care for it. Maybe it's just because I think this particular set of Gaussum are a little bit too hung up on the concept of like honor and face. Maybe I've seen.
Sorry, Zuko. Commander and Zuko.
I mean, I knew that had to happen at least once. But I feel as though in this case you can compare and contrast Gorath and Osbil both trying to seek out vengeance for the slayers of their respective parental figures.
Mm-hmm.
In Gorath's case, it was literally hey, I had these guys come up, purposefully attack our farm, attack my family, lock them in a barn, and burn it to the ground. Whereas Logalog died in the line of duty protecting a kid when, in my eyes anyway, it's like, get over yourself, get over your pride, swallow it, hand the kid over to the hare that'll have an easier time, and you know what? You stay alive.
It's true. Well, it's also for Osbill's situation is he had literally just become Logalog like 2 minutes prior, and by just like getting knocked out, or like backing down to him showed that like he wasn't as strong of a leader right away. Like he wanted to prove himself to the Gaussum.
And he needs a little vengeance.
Yeah. Him along with Gorath.
I approve.
Thank you. I was waiting to spring that one. I'm like, it's like a precision strike. So, yep. But I like how they become friends again. Mm-hmm. And then in chapter 25, we get the most, well, duh, description ever. In the very first sentence, Grunt and Curdly was not built for speed.
Especially if you look at the chapter art.
Yeah.
Describe that chapter art in one word, and that one word is slovenly.
I was going to say Grunt and Curdly's character can be summed up in one sentence. I like eggs.
Yes, pretty much.
Yes, he would like fries with that. Anyway, guys, before you're on, I might kind of mention, I unfortunately have to bug out, so I trust these two to finish it and totally not make fun of me behind my back when I leave the show.
Yeah, they're practically asking us to do it at this point.
Yeah. I was waiting to see how long that silence could hang there.
All right. So, of course, I trust these guys to finish the episode, and as far as my opinion on the rest of the book, it's good, but it's kind of obvious, where things will go. But I don't want to get into spoilers.
Please make sure to lock the side door on your way out so no vermin get in.
No promises.
No!
I gotta go out for some nutmeg. Yeah, that's it.
Of course. Nutmeg.
Mm-hmm.
Quote unquote.
Laced with salamander-strain.
Hush you. Alright, seriously guys, we'll see you next episode.
Okay. See ya. Alright, so we are back with Curdly the genius. And Curdly's like, so what did it look like? What was going on here? What was this Vizca's crew doing? And one of them's like, they were digging. And the immediate response is, what were they up to? I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say, they were digging!
Yes, but why were they digging?
He didn't say that, though. They just said, what were they doing? Digging. What were they up to? Digging.
A bunch of real geniuses there.
Yeah. Oh my god. Just odd. If brains were food, Grunton should be glad brains weren't food because he would have starved to death a long time ago.
Yeah, wasn't that a line somewhere in this book? Because I know Brian's used this line previously, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I think.
If Brains was bred, he would starved to death before he was born.
Yep. I think that might have been in the last one. But so we then get a line that's ew. Where he says, I'm gonna skin them alive and feed them their hides. That sounds both physically impossible and disgusting.
Oh, I'm sure it's quite possible. I mean, remember, in the last book, Felis claimed that he could skin somebody and keep them alive for like 24 hours afterwards.
This is true. I feel like even Farrago's looking at this going, ew, dude.
Like, I have standards. I'm a terrible murderer. I think you're an absolute whack job.
We then get a song.
A great song. Absolutely fantastic. I love this song. Because in the audiobook, it got the moles providing just this background chant, a cappella. And then it's all about the wonderful food they're going to be eating at this feast. And it's just...
I just got the image of a mole barbershop quartet.
Oh, full with straw hats and the red and white pinstripe jackets.
Yes.
I love it.
Oh.
Okay, now my brain's just going into overdrive. Now I want a version of The Music Man, but done by Redwall creatures.
There we go. Oh, gosh. So Grunton doesn't believe that the food they're going to have is real. And then he just talks more about eggs. And, all right. So, like I said, his character be summed up in one sentence. I like eggs.
Yep. And no spoilers, but I'm sure that his love of eggs is going to have some effect on his future.
He's going to choke to death on one, isn't he?
No spoilers. I will neither confirm nor deny. In fact, Jeremy, remember for next episode, we're having this conversation, and tell me what you think when you finally find out how he goes out.
You're making me want to just read all of book 3 right after we finish recording, which probably wouldn't take very long because book 3 is 80 pages and that's it.
Yeah, super short.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, that's absolutely what Katie does anyway, so...
Yeah, this is true. Actually, I am very much looking forward to reading book 3, especially because of one of the cliffhanger moments in book 2.
We'll get there.
Yep. So we then go back to Vizga's crew, including Salt Ear and Rag Chin. All right.
Sorry, Rag Chin. All I can think of is, some patchy-faced teenager thinking that their facial hair is just the absolute pinnacle of manliness.
Just... Oh, just makes me think of that one Penny Arcade comic where Gabe has this little wispy goatee, and he's talking to the first 2 panels, and the third one, Tycho has a full-on beard. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was busy growing a beard while you were talking." Yours looks nice, though. No. So the brown rats then charge in. As Visca and his crew runs for their lives. And so Magger and the rest of the crew leave. Visca shows up and he's like, "Rally the crew!" Magger. Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's even better in the audiobook when he's just like, "Magger! Magger!" You can tell he's, okay, maybe not quite so frenetic, but he's panicky where it's like, Where has my crew gone? Why have they deserted me? And it goes from like bewilderment to anger.
And then he climbs up a tree, and he just kind of just like sits up there like, oh thank goodness, whew, it's a really tall tree.
And I love how it points out in the narrative that because he spent so much time on masts and riggings that he has absolutely no trouble climbing the tree.
Yep.
He actually used a small dead tree leaning on this one to help him climb up, and then he kicks it over so that no one can get up after him, and he just makes his way up to the canopy where he can hide.
It's like when I'm playing Resident Evil 4 and I kick the ladder down so the monsters can't follow me up.
For me, that's more of a Minecraft thing, but yeah, that works too. Build a house in a tree, and, for whatever reason, zombies can't climb trees.
Well, see, in Resident Evil 4, they can put the ladder back up. They're actually smart enough to put the ladder back up and start climbing. So the trick is, as they're doing that, you just kick the ladder back down as they're climbing back up.
Mm. The question is then, do you have to continue kicking the ladder?
Yes, but eventually, every time they hit the ground, you just keep shooting them, and eventually they die.
Ah.
Yeah. But kicking them off the ladder also causes damage, too, so you can save your ammo. Or you can wait until they're right up at the top and then hit them with your knife so they fall right back down again.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Recorder on the Wall, where we're discussing video game
We talk about M-rated video games. So the brown rats capture Magger and call him Maggot.
Yeah, he finally gets the awful stink treatment.
Yep, which this book does like insulting nicknames. And the brown rats make fun of Curdley as they're hanging there, as they're hanging out and eating. And so as I was reading through this, because I was trying to check to see where book 3 starts, where book 2 ends, because as we pointed out in the last episode, there's no table of contents for some reason. Mm-hmm. So I accidentally saw the last page of this chapter where it said, so Stringle, who's Curdley's second in command, captures Magger, and he's like, what happened to your captain? And he's like, I don't know. Say that I killed him. So all I saw, though, was, hi, Vizca's dead, and you're the one what slayed him. And I was like, oh no, please don't tell me Vizca dies. He's the best villain in this book. Oh, thank God, he's alive.
Yeah. It's that standard thing where it's like, I want to tell my boss the news he wants to hear, so I'm going to invent reality to try to bend it to my will and change it so that I'm right. And it's like, redefining reality, which is strictly unredefinable? No, that's going to bite you in the end.
Mm-hmm. But I'm very glad that Vizca's still out there, because he's a much better villain than Curt Diddley Coo.
Yeah.
Awkward silence.
I have a thing I could say. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to type it in chat.
Okay. So, chapter 26, Gorath wakes up, and he's no longer feverish, and he terrifies a young mole for undisclosed reasons. Just won't say what the question is, but I will just say that's an insult to Curdley.
Yes, it is.
So moving on before people start wondering what the heck we're talking about. Just so there's this song on page 208, and I'm not sure. Matthias, you might have to clarify this for me. I think the song is talking about how they're going to have a feast.
Yeah, I mean, I think the words "to the feast" repeated 8 times might be a clue that they're going to have a feast.
Okay.
Just a mild hint.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to jump to conclusions.
Oh, I get that completely. we want to make sure that we are conveying the narrative as accurately as possible.
Okay, good. Excellent. So the feast sounds awesome. Also, I just random thought. You and I are the only ones doing the podcast at the moment. There's nobody to stop us from going on a pun rampage.
But then again, Pete is the one doing editing for this episode. He could just edit the whole thing out. So why go through the effort if it would all be just cut off at the knees anyway?
Okay, so folks, if all of a sudden you hear it sounds like there's a massive cut.
I'm having flashbacks to the Red Wall Defense Guide, Lesson 4, about how feasting before victory is a really bad idea. I mean, it's not a bad idea here. It is in general in other books, but seriously, reading through that whole thing just makes me focus in on this a little bit too hard of, you're having a feast. Yes, it's on the wall top. All the defenders are on duty while they're feasting. Still doesn't feel like a good idea when your otters are just full of, cheese, salad, and hot root soup.
Yeah. But at least they are still being vigilant, so I will give them points for that.
Agreed.
It's not like in Marl Fox where they're like, they're gone, yay! And Roosevelt and Jangler look at each other like, no, they're not. And Maudie puts out a boxing challenge.
And she does it in such a way it would make Sarge One-Will really proud.
Mm-hmm. Yep. She floats like a butterfly and stings like a bee.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how Osbel is the first one to challenge her and miss. And as he's exhausted, Rangval's like, I could do that too. I could avoid anything.
He's dancing around doing this really stupid, what I'm guessing is old-timey boxing stance where it's he's got his fists up in front of him,
put him on,
that internet meme of the super manly old-timey boxer guy.
Yep.
It's he's doing that, milling his paws about, and he runs straight into Osbill's outstretched fist.
Yep.
I learned all the bobbing, but none of the weaving. So
yep, I love
bobbed
that.
when I should have weaved.
Yep. Good save.
Nailed it.
And then when she said, Maudie decides to give her tips, she jump ropes using the Abbot's habit cord and then sings a boxing song, which I really like.
Yeah, it's so much fun in the audiobook. It's got this really even, steady beat, and the I have the whatchamacallit credits here. Beth Cassidy. The way she performs this song is, again, it's really hard to put into words. I wish Katie was here to help me with this. But it has this feeling of the sort of song that you would kind of mentally sing to yourself while going through an exercise regimen to keep you on pace.
Yep.
So it takes you through this basic, duck and weave and duck. And I think the great thing about it is that after she's done singing, suddenly everybody's all caught up in this giant fervor of, okay, I'm going to try that. So using habit cords and belts as jump ropes.
I love
and
it.
Everybody's trying to do it, from elders all the way down to Dibbins. And then there's Formal Burf, who's just way too wholesome for this book. He doesn't know all the words, so he's just going, duck, bubby, up, up. I love him.
Yep.
I will say, though, there's an error. If you look at both the hardcover first edition and the paperback version, the way the verses and chorus are spaced out, there's some spaces missing. So the chorus is glued to the top of the verse that follows it. There should be a
That's
space
true.
there.
That's true. That's weird. Granted, we're about to run into an even bigger issue in this chapter, but
Mhm.
also I don't think they've mentioned it that much, but I think the one time they did mention her name, they did say Mugsberry, right? We didn't get
Uh, I didn't look at it that closely this time around, so
okay, yeah,
I will shrug.
yeah, okay. So they're like, Gorath must have gone back to bed. He didn't go back to bed.
I mean, he's well enough to feast. That means he's well enough to fight.
In his head.
Yes,
Yep.
probably.
Yep. And then Benjo shows up with the with Dirtbag. That's the water vole's name now, by the way. I'm just gonna call him that for the rest of the book.
I mean, that's an insult to dirtbags, I'll have you know.
This is true. And so they find out that Gorath made Dirtbag lead him, get him outside of the Abbey. And I love it too. Like, Orquill's just like done with this guy. And he's like, listen, I'll kill you myself if you don't tell us where Gorath went. And I will say, you know what? I will give the bull a tiny bit of credit. He at least locked the door after Gorath left.
Well, he doesn't want the vermin to get in and find him anyway, so...
This is true, but it still makes him more competent than like half the groups of Redwall we've had so far.
Fair enough.
Yep. And I do love it too, where he tries calling Benjo a spike pig again, and Benjo just squeezes his ear, and he's like, "I don't see one. Skip, do you see one?" And he goes, "We never had a fat hedge pig at Redwall. Only a fine, big, and handsome cellar hog." Please, sir, you fine, big, handsome cellar hog, release me, I beg ye.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say this for the voice actor who played the vole. Actually, I got the credits right here. I should... Huh. Well, because he doesn't have a name, it's making it a little bit hard to find him here in the cast list.
They also do threaten to throw him from the wall tops, which, too late.
Okay, I can't find it with a cursory glance, but I will say that the voice actor who plays the vole makes him not only whiny, but kind of like this petulant little, do I have to stop? You're hurting me. Ow, ow. It's just like, it makes
he
it
hurted
so...
me.
Yeah, it's just so easy to hate him. You know, that one character that was in every TV show that you watched growing up, the one that was kind of like a Weasley snitch that nobody liked, but is there because, hey, they're a character on the show.
Oh, so he's like the Starscream of Redwall then.
Kind of like that, but in this case, plays a way less important role. He's more there just to be hated by everybody else.
This is true. Wait, that's not what Starscream was in Transformers for?
You've seen the show. I haven't.
Oh, okay.
I only know it because I've read TV tropes.
Oh, okay. So then we get this really confusing part because of certain, I don't know if it's like a typo or however you describe it, but so they Mahdi and Orquill and Rangval decide to go after Gorath because, he's Big Badger, but he's also Big Starved for multiple seasons Badger, or however long it took for them to get down south. And they go to Martin's Tapestry, and Orquill finds Sister Atrada, and it's very confusing.
Unclear.
Yeah. So it says she's taken a heavy blow to the back of her head. Maybe she was pushed and struck one of the columns. And they find out that the vole attacked her and stole Martin's sword, the little hammer. And so it says Abbot Dacus called for assistance to help with the unconscious Sister Atrada, immediately followed by the line, "Our friend has been cruelly taken from us." So but then the rest of the book, or at least the rest of this section, they don't mention her by name again, but they say that like Redwall has lost its healer, or a friend has, this friend has died. So I'm assuming unconscious was like a typo or something.
For what it's worth,
Mm-hmm.
according to the Redwall wiki, she died.
Okay.
It says death killed by the grumpy water vole. That's literally what he's called on the Redwall wiki.
Grumpy waterfall.
Yes. I don't think I would use the word grumpy. I think that's a little bit too nice. That makes him sound like he's one of the 7 dwarves.
We've had grumpy or like whiny voles before, like Colin Vole and things like that. Or we've had voles that were just sort of jerks. This one's a scumbag. This one's on the level with Chicken Hound escaping from Redwall and killing Methuselah.
Mm-hmm. I thought about making that connection. The only difference here is that Chicken Hound didn't steal the sword of Martin the Warrior. So in which case, this guy's worse than Chicken Hound. Chicken Hound killed somebody. He only made off with some token valuables, not the legendary weapon that the Abbey is known for.
Yeah.
And we'll see later on in a chapter or two that he didn't steal the sword because it's the Abbey's big famous sword. No, he stole it because Orkwill took his dagger and he never got it back. So he stole Martin's sword to use it as a dagger.
He's scummy and stupid.
Yes.
Yeah. This fool sucks.
Yeah. Dark Forest is too good for the likes of him.
I literally wrote in my notes, I hope someone skins this vole alive.
Well, that's not going to happen, but it's a nice thought.
Yeah. And this is where I put, it's official, he's worse than Droop.
I mean, he's been worse than Droop for a while, but I mean, this officially cements him in place.
Yeah. So congratulations to Droop. You are no longer the worst vole in the series.
Yeah.
You're the second worst.
Yeah. And instead of calling him Grumpy Vole or That Vole, I vote we change his name to Curmudgeon and just call that done.
There we go.
Because that's all he is. He's a curmudgeon.
Yeah.
Although that might actually be a little bit too kind, but,
Well, there's plenty of words I would call him, but this is a PG podcast.
Fair enough.
So, chapter 27 kicks off with Gorath, smash! Gorath, strongest there is! So Magger is not having a good day or a good life.
I should probably feel bad for Magger, but I don't. No. Not in the slightest.
I don't either. And we have the brown rats treating him pretty cruelly, like, you don't have any breakfast? You should give him some breakfast. Here, have some punch. And he's like, do you want some more? No, their punch was enough. Says, you don't want no more breakfast, Captain. That's my trouble. I always spoils prisoners.
I mean, as far as dark humor goes in this series,
pretty good.
It's not as dark as it's gotten. Still pretty dark.
Yeah. So that sucks to be him. Oh well. And then they start hearing something in the distance, and Oh, I've got an important message. Katie says hello.
Oh, hello, KD.
I just
You
got a
won't hear
Skype
this
message.
You won't hear hello from us back for, well, whenever Pete gets this done edited, but
She said, I got a Skype message from her. It says, tell the people I say hello. So, all you listeners, Katie says hello.
you have been officially greeted.
It has been done. So, yeah. Oh, I love the way Gorath makes his entrance. 2 slain brown rat carcasses came hurtling out of the tree cover.
I mean, the imagery itself is just... The comedy writes itself.
Yep. And I love it where Strigal at first like, but we don't know who. The brown rat captain fled after his command.
Yes. This is the correct choice.
Yep. Oh god. Also, I will say I did get a good laugh where it says, "We'll take you to see your Uncle Curdley."
I don't want to go see my Uncle Curdley.
He doesn't. I don't think he's his uncle.
No.
Yeah. And so then Sneaky Vizga sneaks up on his crew and just kind of listens a little bit to try to get an idea of how things are going.
Sneak level 100.
Yep. do 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 do. So then the water vole kills a magpie. No great loss there. And Magger finds him, and Magger will rock you.
Yep.
And yeah, so Magger picks up a rock and bashes Curmudgeon over the head with it, and that's the end of that.
Goodbye, Curmudgeon. You will not be missed.
Nope.
The only tragedy here is that now Magger has Martin's sword, and I don't like where that's going. But if it's between the hands of Vermin, Villain, and you, I think I'd rather have the Villain have it.
Mm-hmm. At least Magger, like, kind of has, recognition for how good, what this sword is.
Mm-hmm.
And how good of a weapon it is. And I do love this moment where he's like, haha, king of the forest, king of the sea, king of everything, that's me. And then he sits there and goes, ha, I even feels cleverer now I gotten this.
No.
So back at the campsite where the brown rats ran for their pitiful lives, Maudie and crew find them, find it and chill for a minute. And it's interesting too. So when they bring up the blood wrath, Maudie's like very cagey about it. Like Rangval says, like, Orkwill says that Gorath's in the grip of blood wrath. And Rangval says, like, I heard of that before. Isn't it supposed to drive badgers mad? And Maudie just kind of goes, something like that. Oh, well, chaps, up and at him. What? Like, she's kind of
Evasive.
avoiding the topic.
Yeah. And my guess is probably 2 reasons. One, it's not, like, super explained at Salamandastron. It's like, you know enough to know that when it's happening, get out of Dodge. And 2, it is not a good thing to be happening. So don't encourage it.
Yeah. I'm like wondering like if she would have witnessed Ashai suffering from it before. Like we know Ashai's been through enough that he doesn't have it anymore, but maybe she saw it or like heard stories. Mm-hmm. And I think like she might be worried about Gorath or maybe just in general in Salamandastron, like the Hares are told like don't discuss it very much with outsiders or just in general. I wondering if that's gonna. I don't know if it's like because I haven't read the rest of the book. I don't know if this is like a big part of the story or if it's just coming off that way in this part.
Well, I guess you'll have to find out.
Yeah, another reason why I want to read the rest of the book.
To quote Reading Rainbow, you don't have to take my word for it.
And then we have they go off to try to find Dirtbag, curmudgeonly Dirtbag.
I approve.
And we have a good moment too where Maudie says like we got to find Gorath, and Oracle's like, well, I got to get Martin's sword. I do like Maudie, but what about my Blinking Badger? And we get a nice mediator with Rangval where he's like, look, we know where Gorath went. We probably don't want to be in his path right now. Let's find the sword, then we find Gorath, and then we can head back.
Seems reasonable.
Mm-hmm. And I like moments like these where it's like you can see both of their points of view. Like both things are kind of, I wouldn't say equally important. Like I'd say Gorath is a little bit more important than the sword. But obviously, if you're Redwaller, the sword is a very, very important thing. Mm-hmm. And well, I look at it as Gorath, he's probably not still at 100% or anything. He might be in trouble, but I mean, granted, everyone else is scared to death of him. Mm-hmm. But I do like this where we kind of have both sides neither being completely wrong, and then a third party is able to kind of settle things. Because when we've had heroes disagree in this series, sometimes it's usually one side is completely right and one side is completely wrong. So I like these little bits. And then we do go back to Vizca's crew, and Vizca shows up and it's like, where's Magger? And they're like, we don't know.
As I put in my notes, Vizca's back. Someone is going to die soon. I can feel it.
Oh, yeah. And he's pissed. And then he hears Maudie's cry because she said part of their plan was they were going to surround the Vol. She was going to scream out her war cry, and then they were all going to, kick his butt and punt him over the trees. And so immediately the Vizca's like, all right, I have a plan now. And so Maudie and her group rush in and are like, oh, shoot, he's gone. And all of a sudden, he's dead. And then all of a sudden, Vizca shows up and takes Orkwill captive. And now all three of them are captured.
I'm sure nothing will happen.
I'm sure they're fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chapter 28.
More badgers.
More badger. Badger.
Mushroom.
So Gorath apparently passed out in the middle of the woods. He can drive. He's fine. To like this, a thought occurred to the young badger. What was he doing here?
I don't know, Gorath. What are you doing here?
Yep.
What is the meaning of life?
Do you ever wonder why we're here? So Gorath wakes up and he meets two more badgers, Tabura and Selixa.
Mm-hmm. And apparently Tabura is a formal title for like super wise badger teacher scholar person.
Yeah, which we've never seen before.
As we find out later in the chapter, it gets said, oh, most scholars know the title of Tabora. Okay, then why do we, the reader, why are we only learning about them now?
Yep. Yeah, I specifically made note of that. I was like, I wish this title had been used in previous books. Like, we've had, obviously there's long-standing titles like Log-a-Log, Skipper, things like that. This is brand new, and they're treating it like it's been used before. And I think if they had, it would have more weight to it. Like, we would be like, oh, this must be an important character.
You know where this would have perfectly fit in? Bellmaker. Because it takes place in a faraway kingdom, far away from Mossflower, so it doesn't matter what kind of, weird, unusual foreign things that they add in to the narrative, because that's another culture. They have a different way of doing things. And then it's like, oh, but that was a reference to that culture, so apparently it's kind of drifted up north.
Yep.
There
like
you go.
where they've traveled like a really long way or something like that.
Yeah.
Like in Bellmaker, we could have gotten just an offhand comment was like Muta's father was known as a Tabura. Just something like that. But yeah, so we find out that he's like super wise, and Gorath takes them back to Redwall Abbey, because apparently he didn't get very far.
Or somehow in his Bloodwrath state, like looped around and was like not far away at all.
Yeah.
But wait, he's never been in Mossflower before, the past couple of days. How is he able to navigate back to Redwall?
Smoke bomb.
Fair enough. Oh, and as they're walking and talking on their way to Redwall, Gorath and Silixa kind of hit it off. I mean, we can all see what's happening here, right?
And they don't have a clue.
And Gorath and Silixa sitting in a tree. Okay, I'll stop.
I was making it's like, I can see what's happening. And they don't have a clue.
Oh, I was kind of heading towards, I see what's happening, yeah. You're faced with greatness and it's strange. Moana?
I haven't seen it.
Oh. You should go see that. Great movie. Anyway, back to Redwall.
Yep. So Tabura meets the abbot and everyone, and I do like where he says, there are several reasons for my visit to your wonderful abbey, not the least of them being a desire to sample your good friar's outstanding cooking.
Yep. Everyone comes to Redwall in part for the food.
Yep.
Everyone.
And I do like Friar Chandris, where it says, Friar Chandris acknowledged the compliment with a radiant smile.
I mean, if somebody said, yeah, I traveled thousands of miles to taste your cooking, that's a pretty big compliment.
Mm-hmm. So then he says, this is where it's like the confirmation where he says, I have learned discipline of body mind long ago. The murder of one of your beloved creatures, the theft of your precious sword. So, yeah, this is where it's confirmed Sister Atrata is dead. It is weird that they, her name isn't used.
Yeah, he sticks around. He says, yeah, I'll stay here, because your infirmary keeper has been taken from you. It's like, yeah. The only way that sounds like she survived is, yeah, she's currently in like an unconscious coma state, and we don't know when she's going to wake up.
Yeah.
So she's been taken from us as an active duty, but yeah, there's a chance that she can recover, or yeah, if she wakes up, she'll never be able to practice medicine again.
Yeah. And then he said, yeah, the murder. So it's like, all right. When I first, because I didn't figure out, like, because I thought she was fine, like that she was going to wake up. Because we've had moments like that where somebody gets knocked out and they just wake up later. So I was confused at first. And then when I finally like reviewed it, I was like, oh, what? So, but now chapter 29, Maudie, Rangval, and Orkwill are not having a good time.
How are they doing? I'll go out on a limb and say they're just fine, just hanging out.
I was going to say that. I was going to say they're just hanging around. I do like this description where it describes their four guards. 2 stoats, a weasel, and a fat ferret. And so they're like, okay, so what do we do? They're like, I know, let's antagonize them. And we do have a line in here. Where does it say? Oh God, can't find it. But they say "me old mucker." We haven't seen that term since Salamandastron.
It's been a while.
That's pretty cool. Maudie, Rangval, and Orkwell then decide to start insulting Visca and his crew. Which, oh, Foxy, Foxy, could you come over here, please, whilst I kick your oversized choppers out? And then Rangval sings.
A super insulting song that is something Cuthbert definitely would have sung.
Oh, yeah. And then finally at the end, Visca's like, all right, that's it. Now I'm mad. But then Magger shows up, and I like Visca where he's just like, me old shipmate Magger. I thought he was Slade. Bring him here. Like, oh, this is not gonna be good.
Nope.
Yep. And then as Maudie and Rangval get tired of throwing insults, which I do love, in it's like page 233. Sure, the only difference you could tell twixt a vermin's bottom and his face is that his nose ain't got a tail sticking out of it.
Ooh.
That was good.
Oh, and I have to point out, at some point, Orkwell gets knocked out.
Yep.
So when Magger comes back into camp and he's got the Sword of Martin, Maudie and Rangval agree between themselves. Yeah, when he wakes up, let him know the Sword of Martin is here and not to say a thing about it.
Yep. And before he gets knocked out, the last thing he said was a sniggledy woofler.
Yeah, sniggledy woofler. And it's like, what kind of insult is that?
And both Rangval and Maudie are like, what does that mean? I don't know, but it sounds funny.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, we're going to get a fight between Visca and Magger. That is not what we get.
Nope.
Visca just opens up an entire 16-pack of whoop ass on Magger, and then picks up Martin's sword, lifts Magger up by one of his ears, and chops his head off, and taunts then says to everyone, like, you see, Magger ain't telling lies no more. I can't stand a runaway or a traitor. Remember that, all of ya, while holding his head.
It's like something out of a Greek tragedy.
Like, oh, okay then. Awesome.
Moving on to chapter 30.
Yeah, well, chapter 29 ends with a big cliffhanger because he walks up to the 3 friends and then swings the sword and says, and struck with a yell. And that's it. That's where it cuts off. They're fine, right?
You have to read part 3 to find out.
Damn it.
Chapter 30, the chapter art makes the Tabora look like a Disney princess. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong.
He's leaning on an upturned wheelbarrow. He's got one elbow just leaned casually against the wheel. In his other hand, a bird has landed on his knee, and it's just like, hey, dude, what's up? Got his hand out just like, hey, what's up?
Oh, my God. Oh, what's flapping?
Not a beak deal.
Yep. Oh, birds of a feather.
Yep.
So I decided here, I was like, Tabura has to be a descendant of Rusano. I could see Rusano being considered a Tabura once he became old enough.
Yeah, I had a similar thought that very much a, old Rusano type character.
Yeah. So this was the part then. Also, I said now that Redwall has lost its healer, I was like, this was before I confirmed it. Yeah, I was like, what? Did I miss something? Which apparently I did. So, or kinda. And then Gorath is like, I still got to go kill Visga, and Tabura's like, okay, then I want you to take Selixa with you, and he's like, huh? Uh, okay. um, so they head off, and he basically says like, I believe Selixa will help kind of balance Gorath out and counteract his warlike nature.
So the Tabura actually ships Gorath and Selixa together. Again, I'm not wrong.
Oh god, he's a Galixa fan.
Gorlixa?
Gorlixa.
Garlic?
Garlic, yes.
Wild ransoms. I do so love ye flavor, sir.
um so then Tabura then says like, oh, here's our solution for the vermin bands out there, and they're like, well, we should just go and kill them, right? And he's like, no, we should they'll just cancel each other out. And I'm like, okay, on one hand that does make sense, but I see two major problems with this logic. One, Curdley's band is much bigger than Visca's. Visca already ran for his life from them. Two, if Gorath kills Visca, then his crew, or what's left of it, is just going to leave on their own. So it's like, maybe, like, at best case scenario, Visca's crew, before they get overwhelmed and killed, take out most or a good chunk of Curdley's crew.
And that's not to mention the fact that, remember, the whole reason that Grunton Curdley is chasing them is because he wants the Gaussum's 6 logboats.
And Redwall now.
And now Redwall.
Yeah.
But his initial reason was for 6 boats.
Yeah.
He's going through an awful lot of effort for, something that will basically just enable him to be even fatter and lazier than he already is.
We've also already established that he's kind of a dummy.
Yeah.
I mean, we then immediately cut to him trying to eat a fish whole and then complaining that there's bones in it. It's like,
I mean, for what it's worth, I kind of agree with him, but then again, I don't like seafood, so his indictment of fish is relatable to me. If you like fish, fine, but it's not for me though.
I like a couple of things here and there, but like I like poke, I like fish tacos, but also I live in Southern California, so like there are some really good fish tacos around here. And to be fair, depending on how you get the fish tacos, usually they're fried, so it's like I feel like you can fry almost anything and it's going to taste good anyway.
I mean, at county fairs, they fry butter and Oreos
Twinkies and
Twinkies.
nachos, pizza.
Deep fried ice cream is a thing.
I've had that. It's amazing.
I imagine it has to do with the contrast between the hot, crispy exterior and the cold, creamy interior.
Yes, it is delicious. I haven't had it in a very, very long time, but there was there was a Mexican restaurant that used to be around here, and one of the desserts there was fried ice cream. And one day I was there with like a couple friends, and I was like, I want to try this. I need to try this at least once. And so, but anyway, back to I like eggs.
Yep.
Which he literally says, I like eggs. We know.
Yes.
I then love...
We know exactly how much you like eggs.
He would admit they're all they're cracked up to be.
Yes.
He wouldn't
That's
yoke
no
around
yoke.
about this.
uh,
Yep. He then refers to Vizca as fizzy long teeth.
so good.
I love it. And he Strangle's like, "Oh, we captured him. Well, where is he?" And he's like, "I meant we were going to, but then this giant monster charged in out of nowhere and shouting something. What was he sounding? Eulalia?
Yep. Stringle, you should quit while you're ahead. Or at least be quiet while you still have a head.
Yep. So then Curdley's like, no one's bigger than me. Oh, I bet you'll be proved wrong pretty quickly in book
Yeah,
3.
vanity, thy name is Curdley.
Yeah. And so he's like, we're gonna charge off, and I'm gonna send you all off to charge off and find him. Now, Laggle, make me some eggs.
Yes.
And then back in Redwall, they talk about some food, simple food, eggs, bread, and cheese. So, okay.
Actually, it was apples, bread, and cheese.
Apples, bread, and cheese. Did I say eggs?
Yes, you said eggs.
Oh, man.
You got a bad case of the Curdleys.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, eggs, bread, and cheese is basically just a breakfast sandwich.
This is true. That sounds good.
I had one earlier today. It was delicious.
Oh, have like fresh biscuit with eggs and ham and cheese. I'm getting hungry now. So anyway, they see
the simple pleasures of apples, bread, and cheese. You know, just fresh apple, fresh crunchy bread, smooth creamy cheese. Delicious.
Yep. And so they find out that a bunch of the brown rats charge off, and so as Osbill and Barbola and most of the Gaussum are like, we're gonna go kill him. And Osbill's like, and Tabura tries to dissuade him. He's like, but I gotta go kill them, and if I don't, it'll bring shame. And then Tabura is like, okay, go kill him. Like all of a sudden he's like, I understand you completely. Go now, exact the price of your father's blood from his killers. Better shame and live on in honor. But remember this, do not let the enemy get behind you. Sleep with one eye open and your blade drawn. May fortune go with you.
Okay, the audiobook sounded absolutely nothing like that. But I appreciate your artistic interpretation. But yeah, on that note, I'm surprised that Tabura condoned Osbill's need for vengeance. Although he did the same for Gorath, so I guess I shouldn't be that surprised. I mean, talked about that earlier. I don't see an equivalence between Gorath and Osbill's need for vengeance.
I also, random thought, why not use this chance to take out Curdled and his remaining schmucks first?
Mm-hmm.
Just a thought, but
chop off the head of the snake and the rest of the body dies.
Yep. Cut or kill off the one partially functioning brain, and the rest will die out. Yep. So that's the end of book 2. That was a really long section of the book.
Mm-hmm. And even though we charged through a huge chunk of the book, we've still been here for over 2 hours.
Yeah. I already saw this coming. Like, honestly, I knew this would be a long episode.
Yep.
So overall so far, just from my first time reading this, I really enjoyed this part of the book. Book 1 was not bad. I didn't think it was bad at all, but I did think it was a little slow at times. But it had to kind of like build everything up and introduce everything, and now we've kicked into gear. And it is long. This section of the book, so book 1 was just over 100 pages, about like 104. Book 3 is about 80 pages or so. This section of the book was 140 pages.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot happens, but I never felt like it dragged or anything. I wanted to keep reading and seeing what was going to happen. And while Curdley's kind of lame, still kind of better than I almost said Vigu. He is Vigo! Curdley's still better than Rigu. And Curdley's forces, there is at least a ton of them, so they're threatening.
Mm-hmm.
And Visca more than makes up for it because he's fantastic. He's definitely my favorite villain in a while now. And on the good guys, Maudie's awesome. Rangval's awesome. I really like Ozbil. Like, he has his faults, but also I think that's the sign of a good character is, they're not perfect. They have their positives and negatives.
Mm-hmm.
I do like Gorath from... We don't get as much with him. I feel like he could get a little bit more focus, but I do like him. Granted, it's hard to focus on a character that's lying sick in bed, but, Abbot Dawkins as well. I really like him. I like how in the thick of it he gets. I like how hands-on he is, how he commands very good authority, how wise he is. I think he's one of the best abbots in a very long time. He's definitely up there, like one of my favorites. And like even the songs are excellent. Like after a clip of a couple of books where I was getting tired of the songs, I liked all the songs in this section of the book. And, the highlight being the Blade Chant, which was fantastic, especially after listening to the audiobook version that you shared with me.
Mm-hmm.
My only real complaints for this section are, one, the weirdness with Sister Atrada's death, which is more of just, I think it was just the wording and a typo. And also, I think Orkwell's sudden readmittance and promotion are a bit rushed. Though I mean I like him more in book 2 than in book 1. But I think they could have done a little bit more with his re-entry into Redwall, or I think it's been a while. It's been 2 hours, but like they could have gotten him back in on like probation or something, and then he really earns his place by the end of the book.
Mm-hmm.
So I am looking forward to book 3. The fact that it is going to be much shorter, I hope the book doesn't rush resolutions to the plot lines, which was the key issue in Hyrule Lane.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to where the story is going, and I really liked book 2 with chapter 22 being just amazing highlight.
Mm-hmm. As for me, really enjoyed getting back to it. Yeah, book 2 feels more solid than book 1, and book 1 was decently solid to begin with. So if that was an 8 out of 10, this is definitely like a 9.5 out of 10. Really solid writing, really solid character development. The plot marches along at a good pace without going too fast or too slow. All the songs are great. A couple of them are especially good. A lot of little funny quotable bits here and there. As formulaic as it is, you accept the bad formula with the good formula. And the good formula, when it works, as it does here, it's just fantastic. So, yeah, there's some weak points, but that is more than made up for, in my opinion, by just the sheer quality of the rest. So, very much looking forward to seeing what you and Pete have to say about book 3, because I have absolutely no doubt there are a couple of twists and turns you will not see coming.
Ooh.
I can't say more. I'm very sorely tempted to drop oblique hints in. I am not going to. I am going to show restraint. But I will say, because this is kind of like a spoiler, not spoiler, we get another Blade Chant. There's a second Blade Chant in this book.
Okay, actually, that one I did know because when you sent me the link to the YouTube video with the first one, the very next suggested video was Blade Chant 2.
Yep.
So that I did see, but that just gave me something else to look forward to.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. Yep, so that's book 2 of Eulalia. And as always, you can find us online at recorderonthewall.com. We are on multiple podcast services. I actually found another one that we're on. Podcast Republic, apparently, we're listed on as well. So just to be clear, like we have been plugging, Apple, Google Play, and Spotify. It does look like we're popping up on other services. However, those might just be compiling, so I don't know how up to date they are, or like if all the episodes are listed or what have you. So just if you go on there and you see stuff missing, then check one of the other services, or just go to our website as well. Just want to put that out there for transparency for everybody. And then you can also find us. We are featured on the R Eulalia subreddit, on the official Redwall forums as well. And you can find us on Twitter at ROTWpod. And we also have an email address, rotwpod@gmail.com. And if you enjoyed this show, you should, I suggest you check out Pete and my other podcast, which is Frustrated Fans. And that one's PG-13, just as a heads up. So, depends on what you're looking for. We've done a couple of uncensored episodes, but those are clearly marked. So if there is any like extreme, it's not that actually, it's basically just swearing. So it's like, if you don't mind swearing, it's fine. There you go. Just imagine other words rather than me saying the word hom. How about that? So definitely check that out. We did cover the Redwall cartoon on that show. So if you like to hear an older coverage of Redwall content pre-Recorder on the Wall, you can check that out. And then next time we will be covering book 3 of Eulalia, The Battle of the Plateau. And so until next time, folks, I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Matthias.
And bye, everybody.
Quick, lock the side gate. Lock Pete out.
Oh, shoot.